Really, three words that describe strategic planning to me are communication, open-mindedness, and efficiency.
Team building, enrichment.
Ownership, communication, and cross-team collaboration.
Teamwork, empowerment, and leadership.
Opportunity, it's valuable, but it's tough.
Thoughtful, collaborative, challenging.
Collaboration, relationship building, and having fun.
Bonding.
Future, pride, and ownership.
Opportunity. They've asked us to insert ourselves into this process, and we have an opportunity to make some changes. And so it's up to us to seize the day, to seize that opportunity and say, hey, I'm going to do something different, or I'm going to make it better instead of just going about my way. And that also goes with empowering, but we should take advantage of this opportunity and make it better.
In 2015, the division directors and I decided that we needed to start working on strategic planning and create a long-term goal for the entire department. And then we came up with 4 strategic directions within that vision: innovation, staff development, collaboration, and process documentation improvement. We are so driven by tasks and things that we need to get accomplished each day that we're not stepping back and saying, how can we do this better?
I think the challenge of bringing people together from different backgrounds, it's sort of, throwing all the fish in the pond and seeing what happens.
So you'll have several people that are really into it and a few people that just don't want to be there.
There's people who kind of naysay and think that we're not going to be taken seriously. Like, sure, our ideas are important until they cost money or until they take time.
Where is the value? How does this apply to me? And that was a struggle.
The biggest obstacle is taking the actual goal, what the goal says, and figuring out what that means to you and your group.
An initial challenge for us was understanding what process improvement was. A lot of our team members felt like IT already incorporates that into their day-to-day schedule, whereas for us, people misunderstood what exactly it was, and they thought we were going to have to rewrite manuals on how to explain to do their job, which obviously wasn't met with a lot of enthusiasm. Yeah.
I don't think I found the goals themselves to be difficult, but finding the time to meet on the goals in between getting the various work done and other meetings has been probably the most challenging.
It does involve your own personal time, and I am a team lead, so there's a lot of documentation that goes along with that, and a lot of preparation for meetings.
They have their own job, but then they have to be part of the strategic planning process. And there was some frustration and some probably resentment in the beginning, but I think that has decreased somewhat as the groups have been meeting and things have been getting clearer.
A lot of people are like, oh, it's the flavor of the month. But I think by empowering us to lead this and to come up with the solutions, hopefully that'll be enough to sustain it.
It wasn't that coming up with the goals that was the hard part. It was figuring out how we can empower the employees to take ownership of the goals.
How do I motivate people? And usually this question is coming from the team leads. My answer to them really is not to say, you have the role to continually motivate people. Your role is to help the individuals that are having a hard time being motivated to figure out what is the value within them.
I appreciate that leadership has given us, made us kind of set these 3-year goals, and and what we can accomplish in those years, and not telling us this is what you need to accomplish, but you figure out what works for you. And I think that was a struggle even at first, because we're like so used to being told, here, this is what you need to do, and where do we start? We don't know where to start.
What is the outline? How do we need to tackle this? I think there is a point of frustration there, definitely, that the team dealt with. And I think a lot of us on a personal level had to get over that frustration by just being more patient.
And working together in a democracy has been a challenge because everybody has input and ideas, and that's been great. That's a great strength, but it's also been a big challenge to make final decisions and kind of come to a consensus on things.
When you first come together as this one group, it's just a bunch of people who might not really know each other very well. Everybody has their own ideas and they're kind of throwing them back and forth, and it's a little difficult, to try and get everybody's input, but yet, kind of reel them in and just tone it down a little bit.
Being in IT, there's a lot of acronyms. We speak in a different language. Working with finance, there's a lot of acronyms. They speak in a different language.
I think a lot of people want to believe in this plan, want to have this great idea, this cultural change, but to get everybody to actually do it is difficult.
I think everybody's resistant and not understanding that maybe there is a cultural change, and if we had the cultural change, I think people would be more open and share their ideas.
I'm trying not to have expectations because cultural change and the strategic planning is something that is organic and really has to be driven by how the culture is today and how it wants to evolve over time.
So this has been a new approach to try and get people to embrace new ideas and realize that personal development can be more than just technical skills. It can be building my skills as a person, as a communicator, as a leader.
It's changing behaviors. It's not necessarily about goal setting, goal accomplishment. It's more about the collaboration and working together, getting outside of your little niche.
Overall, I think what I've seen in the cultural change of our environment is we're a lot more open. We're a lot more open to that collaboration, that communication, those ideas, sharing information, talking about some of the unpleasant stuff.
I do think I've seen a change in the way people are thinking. If they're thinking of a process improvement, for instance, they're really looking at, is this actually going to be an improvement?
Our regular meetings now are it's more of a routine. It's the culture change that this isn't just extra work, it's a routine, and what can we do to work together.
You can see in some people how they used to maybe just sit there and not volunteer, and now they're like, okay, I can do this. This is manageable. They might raise their hand, they might interject their comments, or even volunteer to do a piece of the task. So that aspect has been really good.
One thing I've really liked about it is that it's not top down. It's you pick what group you want to go with.
Part of this whole effort is sort of the bottom up of recognizing within your team and taking leadership and saying, okay, hey, let's look at how we're providing these business services, or let's look at how we're doing our current processes, and let's identify areas for improvement.
Maybe the mentality shifting a little bit towards, okay, maybe it's not as bad as some people thought. I'm very fortunate that I'm part of a really good group that seems to be taking on the challenges as they come.
Well, I think that the people that were most reluctant to change at the beginning, now that we've gone through a full year, are starting to see that maybe some of those changes might work in their job.
I think my perspective has changed from doing this strategic planning by actually feeling like we have control over the changes that go on here at the county.
I am optimistic that there's going to be a new way of looking at things at Jefferson County, and the entire FIT department will be on board.
Myself, I'm not fully, I don't think, have shifted over, but I'm seeing the benefit and seeing where these goals will lead us to new ways to do things and make that shift. I don't see it as a big wow, we're all shifted yet.
I think a year into it, we have a little bit of a cultural shift, but I think it's good, but I don't think that it's the end-all be-all. I think, much like breaking a bad habit, that's just not going to happen in a week or a month.
I know a couple of the areas that we're working in, there's a need there. And so if we can have that paradigm shift of our culture to follow those things, I think it could benefit us as a team and eventually benefit our customers and the taxpayers who are our bosses.
It's really the intent of the strategic plan and the cultural change is that we are changing the way we work and we are changing the way we think about things and that we do things and we're more effective with the way that we implement our processes.
You know, once you get in there and you're interacting with people that you haven't before, that's when it's fun, and you know, you definitely don't regret being there.
With the strategic process, the most surprising thing is that people have a lot of ideas. There I was up at the dry erase board, just writing idea after idea after idea, and we had a whole board full of ideas.
Yeah, so I think what surprised me the most is how many great ideas there were out there that were never voiced or maybe didn't have a forum for a voice.
And what do we want to get out of this basically across the department so that we have a common approach that we can sustain and keep going, you know, this year, next year, and beyond. To me, that was something that I wasn't expecting at the beginning, that we would collaborate that way, but I think it's working out really well.
What surprised me the most was how long it took us to gain momentum. It felt like right out of the gate, we came out pretty fast and it was going good, but then we kind of slowed down for a long period. But once we've broken through that, I think we're really back on track.
We did some surveys to kind of see how people liked to be appreciated, and the biggest percentage of people said, you know, I'm really just looking for someone to say thank you.
And it was kind of funny because as we went through this survey, everybody kind of alluded to that the meetings they attend to were not very effective, but the meetings that they presented at were much more effective.
One of the staff members that usually holds back and doesn't share, doesn't usually take a leadership role, has really stepped up and participated more. They become a team lead and really bring the team along.
Seeing teammates come out of the woodwork who maybe don't always speak up. So I've learned a lot more about some of my fellow teammates through this process.
There's a couple surprising aspects that I found in this process. As we started working together as a team, we're finding some of the commonalities of what we do and how we can improve those. That there is some value in what these goals will do.
And so as we've gone through this process, it's been interesting to see the people who get excited about it and get really enthused about it, they're having a better experience on it than the people who are just kind of in the back of the room. So for me, that was probably the biggest surprise, was just that we were investing the time and energy to go through this whole process.
I think the most important lesson I've learned in the last year is how well people can actually work together and come to a consensus with very varying ideas of what should be done.
And I think that was one of the biggest lessons I could have learned, is to listen more, ask good questions, and let the team drive the direction and just kind of help guide that.
It's important to work with others to accomplish your goals.
It's easy to get stuck in sort of a silo of the way we see things within our own teams. But when we're working with other teams in the department, it really helps open your eyes to listen and appreciate other people's perspectives.
Yeah, bringing us together, and we have these regular meetings, kind of breaks down our little silos that we may be working in, just focusing on what I do and not thinking about what, how this might help or impact somebody else, because maybe that it's a good thing, it might be a bad thing. So we need to make sure we're thinking through all those things on either side.
It's a 3-year plan for a reason, and there's a lot of time and there's a lot of tasks within each goal that need to be accomplished in order for the goal, to be successful. But there's also a lot of people on your team.
It was useful that we broke our goal into 3 separate areas, and we created subgroups. 1 to embrace change, 1 to think creatively, and 1 to take initiative. And then when we were in our smaller groups, we could just focus on one thing and then get together again as a big group. I think that was really useful.
So it's not only, sitting down as a team and really being task-oriented and working toward the goal. It's stepping back and taking some time to learn about why we're really doing this.
Plan your goal the way it needs to be planned. So if it can be done in 6 months, complete it in 6 months. If it's going to take 3 years, plan it for 3 years. So there wasn't this fear of not being able to make the goal meet a deadline, because you could create those yourself.
I think people need to see a success. I think it would help them to see one of the goals be successful and to see that the collaboration worked.
The strategic goals that we have out there are great goals to start with. I'm sure that some of them will work out perfectly and some of them will need tweaking. Either way, the goals themselves are great, and there's something to go on that I think we need as an organization to kind of have that bond.
There's no shame in asking for help from people outside of your team. There's no shame in asking for help from people outside of your department. And I found out that most people are willing to help. Most people are willing to impart that knowledge. Most people are willing to share their process, their obstacles, their roadblocks that they ran into.
And so my sponsor sat me down and talked about, again, the theme, the reason that we were doing these goals and what the intention was, and that was about collaboration. It was about working together, about changing how we do what we do. And so he really pushed me outside of my comfort zone to say, work with your team and work together. And that really helped me.
I think it's really going to take management to keep harping on this is the direction we want to go, because the employees just need to hear that. They need to believe that this is really happening and not that this is just one more thing that's, next year is going to be something different, or it's just going to go away.
It's something more than what we had before, and it's something that we created, and it's something that we were allowed to take process of. So it's kind of exciting to be able to know that it's ours.
It's exciting to be a part of an organization that wants to invest this time and energy and money to come up with better solutions.
I'm focusing on finance and IT. This is where we need to grow, and this is where we need to develop. And if that permeates to the rest of the organization, then great.
I think it might be too soon to tell if this is something that'll go countywide. However, I know, at least with the groups that I'm in, it's our goal.
Well, if it was adopted countywide, how exciting would it be to say we were the first, right? That's bragging rights. We can go out and say we started it. So that would be awesome. It would be great.
I think building momentum means that you need to keep an open line of communication. If you stifle ideas, that momentum goes away.
I would describe building momentum as the process of pursuing our goals without really holding ourselves back.
We've committed these 3-year goals. Now we're through year 1. Where are we? Where do we need to go? What can we do to get to that next phase?
For me, building momentum together really is about us working together as a team to address these solutions.
Collaboration, ensuring that everyone contributes and feels heard. All can have a voice in this process, and then from that we are stronger.
It's not just about these goals. It's about working together, collaborating every day, every minute.
That we're all going to have something that we're taking ownership of to possibly move on to the future with.
It's more about how do we build those relationships inside of our own county workforce to work together to better serve our citizens and the environment.
It's not just IT, accounting, budget, and risk. All three of us are all working together towards one end goal, which is the strategic plan.
Building momentum together is having everyone involved, no matter what level you're at in the FIT team. We're all working on this together.
Building momentum would be, continuing to get us out of our cubicles and to interact with one another and meet new people and collaborate.
100 plus, big, 120. To get them moving forward, you can't get them all to jump. You have to take them baby steps, and there's that one step at a time.